I'm Taren S, a high priestess with almost 40 years experience in the community. I'm a Crossroads Witch, embracing both the balance of dark and light in the universe. Would you like to brew a little magic with me? Well, come on in then. Hello! Woo! I'm doing a video on the season of the dead. This is my favorite time of the year, witches. So I am so excited, y'all. I say that all the time, but I am just too happy to be able to share this, to discuss it, to talk about it, because I think it gets a little confusing sometimes, especially for you new witches out there. All right? We're going to talk a little bit about ancestral altars. We're going to talk about Season of the Dead altars. All right? The same, the different. The witches season versus the season of the dead. Boy, did I say a lot really quick. All right, witches. First, let's talk about this. Ancestral altars. All right. All cultures, all civilizations, all folks set up a little area of remembrance. That is an ancestral altar. All right. You got a couple pictures of your relatives, your grandparents, all right? It could also be a picture of folks in which aren't necessarily blood relation, but are still considered part of the family, all right? Ancestral altar. Depending on the tradition or depending on the culture, there may be some what I call sit standards, all right, where you'll hear them say that, oh, you have to have a white tablecloth. It needs to be set up just like this. What they're telling you is within their tradition how they honor the dead. Now, recently here we've been seeing this whole thing about the witches season, season of the witch, season of the witch. That's marketing. That's all I gotta call it. I don't know what else to call it, witches. The season of the dead, all right, is typically done during the time of October to the first part of November, November's full moon type time period. This is the season of the dead. What does that mean? All right. It means that witch folks pull out their altars for different types of dead folk. Okay. All right. Because we got our ancestral dead that we may keep up year round, but we also have regional, cultural, all right, spirit realm folks, okay, and just this whole list of dead people that you may want to honor this year. And I want to tell a little story about that, because as y'all see, I got my basket. I'm going to set us up an altar. Don't worry. But last year, okay, 2020, I chose to set up an anima sola, which is Latin for lost souls, all right? Because for me, I felt with all of the deaths that we had going on worldwide from the virus, we had a lot of folks dying so fast they didn't know they were dead. We had folks that their hands couldn't be held when they were taking that last breath. And I wanted to set up a little remembrance altar. And so I had a book that I had wrote down some of the names of the deceased that I heard on the news, like the Chinese doctor that was the first one to report it. I had his name down, other prominent members of our community, people I knew personally. And I put that all out, all right? Every year, these altars are different. That's why I told that story, okay? The altars are in the moment. This is about you connecting to the season of the dead right now. How are you feeling about it? Okay? And you can have different years. And this is another thing. A couple of years ago, I just got all up in my four-legged furry friends that I have a little box of mementos for the ones that I've had to say goodbye to. And I decided I wanted to do up a altar for the dead for all my fur babies. And I set up my little mementos and pictures from all those beautiful four-legged friends that I have had over my lifetime. And I set up a little altar of remembrance for them that year. All right. because that's how I felt. And that's why I want to talk a little bit before I sit up and tell you, this is how you sit up an altar. Because no, all right, unless you are working within a tradition, within a set, this is how we do it. How do you sit up your altar? Well, the way witch folks have been sitting up their altar for thousands of years, the way witch folks have been remembering the dead for thousands of years. We do what feels right, okay? That's the big part. Okay, now, I'm doing this video a little early because I want y'all, I know I got some new folks who've not gone through our season of the dead. They have, but not with awareness. So, you need to start sort of thinking like, what type of altar, what is my general season of the dead altar going to be like? And let me find it. And y'all know, I have a little book I wrote last year, Witch's Guide to the Season of the Dead. It's this great little book packed full of all the good information that discusses the different types of altars that you may want to set up. There is no, we have to set it all up this way. All right. Now I'm going to set up a general altar for the dead. Okay. And how I'm feeling right now in this moment and what I do. All right. And for me, I'm thinking, actually, I have my memento box. I have this wonderful box off to the side that I put everything over in this basket. But this is a list from the World War II of soldiers that died. I have all these little collectibles over the years that go into my Season of the Dead tote. And I pull it out each year to see what I'm feeling, what's resonating with me, type things. And I'm going to show you some of my mementos as we go through. But the first thing I'm going to do is put up a pretty cloth. Now some folks are going to say it has to be a white cloth. It must be white. We're going to take him. No, it don't. It can be whatever color you want it to be. This is one of my cloths that I typically use. Y'all know I like dead people, so of course I'm going to have a couple of dead people on the altar with me. All right? And like I said, for me, I was thinking just about all those young lives that never got old. That was, and sitting up to all the young folks who never got old. And I have some other little memento pieces I want y'all. This is out of the 1920s. This is, and I'm going to say her name because this is Priscilla Ann Autumn. This is in remembrance of her. She lived the turn of the century, 1880s to 1920. Here's a little note that someone wrote to her graveside. I was very lucky enough and I got that. That's one of my remembrance of the dead. I also have another one here for John Henry Parks. He died May 7th, 1902. He was aged 20 years, 4 months, and 8 days. This is one of the funeral cards that was given the day that John died. All right. And again, this is where I collect these little mementos. Where do I get them from? Yard sales, flea markets, friends give them to me. My grandmother started me off with a little box and I kept adding to it over the years. So this is an altar in remembrance of all of those that never got old age. That's what we're creating, witches. All right. And I put out my physical realm tokens. I know my theme. I know who I'm wanting to give honor to. All right. And now, what's the next thing? Oh, I like to put cool candle. And y'all know I'm a cheat. Ha ha ha. Y'all see what I just did. All right. I do this for fire safety purposes. All right. We're going to set us a nice one here. I like to put me some crystals out. magnify my message, send it out further. All right, I like rock, quartz, crystal points, so I'm sending them out. Actually, we're gonna sit this over here to the side so I can be easier for me. Another thing, now this is quite common. All right, it's just a pretty little wine glass. I'm gonna fill it full of water, and that will sit center. You'll see sometimes on ancestral altars, they will use a really big bowl of water. Sometimes they have 2 glasses of water. For me, particularly, I'm feeling this is gonna work just fine. All right? Y'all see, I have my little basket here full of stuff. All right? And because I'm working with young folk, I decided that I wanted to do a healing and also a growth. Their next lifetimes. Made sense to me? That's all that matters, witches. Does it make sense to you? Okay? All right? And of course I want to give a little libation, so I found one. Y'all, don't you just love this? This is rum, is what this one is. You can use whatever, again, wine, beer, rum, your choice. All right, there's my offering of rum. And then we want to let the dead know we're coming. That's where you'll hear ring for the dead. You can also shaky for the dead. All right? It's about waking the dead, letting the dead know you're there. And I'm sitting this altar up towards y'all. I'm on the back side, y'all are on the front side, so you know. Another thing, most of these folks like to smoke. You may want to put a pack of cigarettes or simply a nice cigar. Put that out for them. Now, I've set my space up. What am I supposed to do next? You're supposed to spend time with it and feed it. How do I feed it? Ooh, honey, I got you some questions. All right. Well, first of all, I'm going to talk. Let me get this out of the way so I can get these books over here. I'm going to show you this is a book of remembrance that has prayers through the Catholic Church. This was put out, I think, in the 1940s. All right. A little book of remembrance for our dear dead. And it has these pretty little verses in it. And I will sit and read those out loud to the dead folk. All right. Here's Catholic prayers that I read to the dead folk. All right. We're not doing that book yet. All right. Another books I really like, and these are books of hours. These were put out probably 20 years ago, but it is the Book of Hours, Prayers to the God and Prayers to the Goddess. And there are some really beautiful remembrance prayers in here that, again, I will open them up. I will leave them sitting up on the corner of my space so that when I come in, depending on how I'm feeling, I may pick up prayers to God. And I don't overthink it, witches. I just open it up like this. And I'll be like, all right, this is what we're reading today. All right? And I will read them out loud to spirit folk that I've just welcomed into space. All right? Another within pagan traditions, the Pagan Book of Prayer. Beautiful little book that has some nice little prayers in here, all right, that you can sit and read out loud to your spirit altar, your altar to the dead, all right? This isn't so much an ancestral altar as it is a spirit altar. This is about me connecting to spirit folk, me letting spirit know that I appreciate, I remember, all right? And also, a Bible. And I know some of you witch folk are leaning back like, no, honey, that's these folks, spirit folks' words, all right? For us, I'm Southern Conjuring. My grandma was a Baptist prayer healer. And in the Conjuring community, we all have our white Bibles with our names written on them. Mine was given to me by my grandmother. I gave my granddaughter her Bible. Within my line, we are taught about the Psalms, we're taught about the Proverbs as those places of magic, all right? Other conjuring folk, you'll hear them talk a lot more about herbs. Whole different subject, and I'm getting off subject, but Bible, and I will sit these out, walk out, light my candles, say a couple of words, all right? And of course, y'all know how I'm going to tell you, Bridging Worlds Botanica. This is bay rum water. This is a blessed, sacred water that is made by a wonderful Detroit conjuring woman. Give it a little spray. All right, you could light your incense at this time. Stop. Make sure you're straighten the altar up. And what you're feeling is what you do next. And I will do this during the entire month of October and into the 1st of November until I feel the energy shifting. Like I said, somewhere around November's full moon typically is when the energy shifts, sometimes before, sometimes after. All right, this is your season to celebrate. This is the spirit altar, all right? Now, like I said earlier, if you're setting up an ancestral altar, you would do the same thing, but it would have mementos on it that those folks understood in their life. Another thing to consider, you know, like for us year before last, we at the cottage coven for our Samhain night decided we were going to honor our great-great-grandparents. And we played turn of the century 1900 to 1920s music, and we all danced around because we know that's the music that our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, that was the music they would have heard. And so in honor of them, we played their music and danced. All right? That was the big magical moment. That was the ritual. That was the moment where, I got to connect with my great-grandma for a couple of moments. All right? This isn't standing in some sort of high magic ritual and intoning words. This is about getting up in spiritual space. All right? Doing what feels right for your connection, witch. So, I'm just going to keep ranting because y'all know how I am. I'll just talk and talk. But I do want to give a shout out. 13 Moons has launched. What does that mean? You want to know more about the Crossroads Witches here. What are we doing? How are we doing it? You want to get involved in it. We have got a community for you. All right? 13 Moons to the Crossroads. You can go sign up, start participating. It is an actual community. So you get to talk to each other. And of course you get to talk to me, other members of the Cottage Witches, and also the House of Witchcraft Witches. They are there. They're opening up their doors, so to speak. They're turning on their cameras so that we can have a community where we can talk all about this stuff, witches. All right? So, I'm going to let this go. I want to thank y'all for joining me. And of course, if you're new here, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notify, and go to houseofwitchcraft.com, sign up for the newsletter. Thank y'all so much for joining me. And as always, I hope y'all have as bright of a blessed day as I'm having. And with that said, amen, blessed be, ashe, and a-bo-bo.